Okay, I'm going to start taking this pump apart. Before I did this, in this workshop here, what I've done is I've wiped off all these counters here. I took some soapy water in the sink, wiped everything off clean, and I organized my tools. So I've got a nice clean spot, and I swept the floor under it in case I drop a part. You know, I want to make sure I can find it easily. And so this is some of the stuff I took out the other night. These are the bolts for the injector lines. There's 4 of them. There was a clamp that held the lines together. These are the bolts that hold the injector pump into the engine. And these are the bolts that hold the filter onto the body of the engine. There's the inspection cover. I'll put that there. The 2 little screws. Okay, so I'm not going to put this in a vise. They say not to put it in a vise. But for right now, I'm just going to move it around on the bench here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this top cover off. Okay, so right off the bat, I got 2 bolts loosened over here. This one here is really tight, so I'm just going to put a little heat on the head of the bolt. I don't want to get that aluminum casing too hot, but if we put some heat on the head of the bolt, it should go down the length of the bolt and help that thing come out of there. And I've just been heating that a little bit and stopping and putting some PB blaster on it and just very gently tapping it here and here. You know that the threads are down in that part of the aluminum casting right there. Maybe, you know, 1/2 inch long or less. There's no threads up in here, but it doesn't want to come out. You know, it doesn't want to come out. And I've broken off bolts before in aluminum castings, and it's never a good thing because it's very hard, you know, in that small size to drill them out and tap them again, you know. Anyway, I got it to start to turn. After about 15 minutes, a little bit of heat, a little bit of PB blaster, tapping it gently on the head of the bolt. Okay, there's those 2 bolts out that came out easy. Here's the one. There it is, got the whole thing out. All right, let's take a look under that cover. What do you think? What do you think it looks like in there? Oh, it's pretty nasty. There's the gasket. Hold that in the light a bit. Yeah, it's pretty dirty. Well, it's still moving. Well, I see the metering valve is still turning. That little lever right there. Huh. Okay. First thing you got to do is there's a little clip right here. It's called the shutoff. Is it called the shutoff cam? This little one right here. Got to pick this out of here, and then these 2 shafts will pull apart. Okay, I just took a screwdriver and I just got under the low end. I put this cam in the what would it be? I put this cam in the run position, all the way in the run position. That would be the stop position. So the run position, so I could get under this low end of this little cam here. I just popped it up with a screwdriver like that. And out it comes. Okay, and here's that little cam. See it there? It goes down like, it goes in like that. They say to put a new one of these in. They say when you rebuild the pump to put a new one in, so I've ordered a new one. All right, so the stop lever just comes out like that. Stop cam like that. That goes through there. Then there's a spacer, and then there's the throttle cam on this side. Okay. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to take off the end of the pump. We've got 4 bolts there. Okay, I had a little issue with this. See, I put the screwdriver in there and I just broke the side of the slot off. You know, that doesn't break off the bolt down inside, but I'm going to put a little heat on the end of these bolts too. Just gently. And I had one I thought was coming out actually. I rocked it back and forth and no, it snapped off. But it snapped short of the cover, so it's not flush inside the pump body. So hopefully if I can get this cover off, you know, if I can get the others out, a lot of ifs there, I should be able to extract that, you know, if I'm careful. Get the rest of it out of the hole. So I've taken the suction strainer out of the body here, the pump body. That's an easy one. So the suction strainer goes here, and there's a drain on the other side. So I'm going to take that out. There's a little O-ring behind it. I'm going to squirt some penetrating oil up inside of there and see if maybe it'll can access some of those spots where those bolts are seized up. Well, I didn't have to wait long for my answer. It broke off too. But at least the head is out of there, and it broke off short. See, it broke off. Let me see. There's still be quite a bit of thread sticking out above this pump body. So that'll be okay. Okay, so I filed the top of that bolt flat, and now I got it on the drill press. And I'm just going to drill it down as far as the casing, and then hopefully we can get that cover off. And then we'll deal with the whatever studs are sticking out of it later. Okay, I was drilling it, and then I thought, before I drill it all the way through, I'm going to try and see if I can turn it with a screwdriver, like I did before. And you notice I don't have the body of the pump in the vise. I've just got the flange at the bottom in the vise. Don't put the body of these in the vise. You'll distort it and ruin it forever. So gently in there is okay. But even that, I don't want to do too much. But see, I did get it to turn. Look at that. The heat of the drilling, maybe. Or the combination of everything else I've done here today. Now let's see. Is that the whole thing, or did it break off too? It looks like it's... Well, it's hard to say if it broke off. Maybe the cover will come up now. Yeah, look at that. The cover does come up. And it did break off. But mission. Uh-oh. Be very careful not to drop it on the ground. There it is. So I'm going to have to work at these later and get them out of the body. That one, see, is threaded. And those three broke off. Anyway, I got the cover off. And I didn't damage the cover. I think it's okay. Now, a lot of the videos I've watched show another plate in here that's removable, but this end casing for the pump is a solid piece. There's an O-ring here. You can see where the O-ring was touching it here, and there's a pin on this here that sits down like that. There's no tolerance in there for anything else, so that this one doesn't have that extra piece. The other thing I'm noticing here now, on the end of this eccentric ring here, it says CC. So that's telling me that the direction of rotation is counterclockwise for this particular pump. And I want to make sure that when I put this ring back in, that the CC, it's actually upside down there for you. You see right there, CC? So on the other side it'll say C, which is clockwise. So it goes around the other way for a clockwise rotation. And this one here goes in, so the CC faces the back of the pump. Okay, so I got the little cover off. I didn't damage it too much. I nicked it a little bit there with the hand file when I was filing off that flat, and nicked it a little bit with the drill there, but no permanent damage. I think it's fine, considering I didn't think I'd ever get it off there. And here's the bolts. This is what they're supposed to look like. That's the only one that came out, and there's the other one. That's the one I drilled, partially drilled it out, and the other ones broke off part way. Okay, so I took out this rod for the governor spring, 7/16 head. I pulled it out this end here, and that's how it fits together. Goes into that little spring, into that, into here. Okay. This governor control linkage here, now I'm going to leave in there. I'm going to lift it up, and I'm going to get out the metering valve right here, under here. So I'm going to pull that up, and I might need two hands to do that, and I'll get back to you in a second. Okay, so that arm just lifts off. See that hole in the end of the arm? It sits on that pin on the metering valve. See right there? There, I can lift the metering valve up. Sorry for my hand in the way. And you see there's a little spring under it. And that's right there. Okay. This arm can stay in here, and we can take that out later. Okay, look at the junk in this pump. Look how filthy it is. My goodness. It's little wonder it didn't want to run. Man. Okay, now I'm going to turn it over. And this is your advance mechanism. So when your engine takes off or hits a heavy load, basically this will compensate and it'll move the cam ring. It'll advance the cam ring or retard the cam ring, and it'll give the engine a chance to catch up. It'll move the fuel ahead, so that it's not lagging. So when you hit a heavy load, the engine doesn't bog down. It keeps up. It throws it into an advanced position. And this is what does it here. There's a little passage that comes down into it, and it acts on one side of it, and the other side's a spring, and it balances in there. And there's a little pivot. There's a certain name for it. I can't remember it right now. I'll put that on the screen here in a second. And it just it sits into the bottom of the cam ring, and it actually moves the cam ring. So that's the ring that has the four. In this case here, this is a 4-cylinder. So it's the ring that has the 4 cams on it. That each one is an injection point for the engine. So that high spot is where it does the injection. So what it does is it actually moves that ring. That ring moves so that the timing changes, and it helps the engine keep up. The governor does some of that, but when it hits a heavy load or it bogs down, this will kick in and move that cam ring a little bit, and then adjust for those loads. I learned that in the book. Okay. Wow, is that ever filthy? My goodness. That's pretty much what was in the tank and in the filters too. So, yeah, wow. Okay, so I got the veins out of the pump. There's 2 sets of them. Little spring in between them. See, like that, like that. Okay, and then they just set in here one way, one the other. And lift this out if I can get a hold of it. There it is. Okay, got it. It's CC facing this way. Notice if we turn it over, it's got a C there. So if you had a clockwise rotation pump, it would go in that way. Counterclockwise rotation pump, it goes in this way, and that's ours, like that. Okay. That there. Down in the middle here, eventually we'll get that. Once we have the rotor apart, there's the delivery valves down in there under a plug, and we'll take that apart and get a look at it. There's actually a part in there they recommend that you change. The delivery valve stop, they call it. So I'm going to order one of those. And I got to take this out. This is a 12-point socket. It'll do this. I think it's 7/16. Okay. Take that out. Okay. Okay, and then these end caps. I was a little confused here initially because I saw one of them had said counterclockwise on here. So I was under the impression that perhaps the cover was left-hand thread, but they are not. They're both right-hand thread. They're 1 1/8 inch, and what I had to do was I had to heat them up and use penetrating fluid on them, and long bar on here like this, and tap it with a hammer, and I got them loosened up. Now, pay attention here. You don't want to mix up these pistons. So you can see this is aiming towards the engine. It's upside down. So on that side, you're going to have this piston, and you see it's got a spring under it and a solid piston, and it's got a piece on the end here that contacts the cam, what do they call that? The cam stud or something. It's got a little ball in there. So you get that on that side. On the other side, it comes out like that. And on this side, what you get is, I think this was a solid piston with just that piece on the end of it like that. And there's the difference, okay? And they're easy to mix up because they are interchangeable. It's the same thread. Okay, there's the plug. There's this other piece. All right, now, what we're up against now is, you see down in here that cam stud? It has what they call, it's a Bristol, the tool is called a Bristol cam stud tool. And it's a Stanadyne part. And I found the part number for it. I'll put it up here on the screen here. You'll see that in a second. But I can't seem to find it anywhere. And most people use an Allen wrench for that, to take this out. It threads out. And I've read that, you know, you can break it. You can break the top off this with using an Allen wrench, or you can strip out the hole, and then you've got to get a new part. So the square on that, it's not Torx, it's not Allen. It's a 6-point, but it's squared off. Each of the little prongs there is squared off. It's not pointed like a Torx is. But some people use an Allen wrench, and it seems to work. And but there is a caution that if you use an Allen wrench, you can strip it or break the top off that little stud. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can get some penetrating fluid down in under there. I don't want to put too much heat on it. I may put a little heat just down on it like this. It's not recommended, you know, to use heat on it too much on any of this stuff, but heat has worked for me here today. So, okay, I'm gonna warm that up a little bit, just a little bit. I don't want to take the temper out of anything, like there's a cam ring there. I don't want to do any damage, but from my experience, everything on this thing is super tight. Probably never been apart, right? So. Okay, so I heated it up through here. I just had the torch through there and I warmed it a little bit. Well, I put my Allen wrench in there and I put a wrench on here and I got it to turn. It was touch and go. I wasn't sure if it was going to break or what it was going to do, but it looks like I got it to turn. Wow. Okay, and there it is. Okay, and we got that out, and it's a 1/4-inch Allen wrench that fit it. And so what we're going to do now, we can pull the head out of the body, and these are the locking bolts for that right here. There's one here, and there's one on this side, and they're both 1/2 inch. So we're going to take those out, and then we're going to, as you put your injector lines bolts back in, and you just pry between them with 2 screwdrivers, and it should pop out. I'm just taking a screwdriver gently now. I'm just going between the casing and those bolts. I'm giving a little bit there, a little bit there, a little bit there, and very slowly. I don't want to break anything off. I'm just going slow. And I did see the casing start to move. I did see it start to move right here. You can actually see the hole for the locking bolt as it's not lined up anymore. It's moved about 1/16 of an inch so far. I bet you, a newer pump would come apart a lot easier. But yeah. Just a little bit of warmth sometimes makes all the difference. Remember, it's aluminum, and it's old aluminum. And there's O-rings in there and all sorts of stuff. You don't want to melt it. Now, this is my pump, and I'm doing it my way, and you can do yours your way. I'm not recommending you put heat on this anywhere. Oh, here it comes. Look at that. I just saw it move. The whole thing moved. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, it's coming. Look at that. Here it comes. And there it is. There's the weight retainer. There's the weights. Okay. That casing. All right, let's take this in. You can see how fragile this is, really. You can see why they don't want you to put the body of this in the vise. It would break it or distort it. Okay. Okay, that's what we got. Okay. There's the housing. And there's that governor link here, see? And there's a little shaft that runs through here. See, there's a nut there. And and a nut on the other side, and it's just a little shaft with studs sticking out both sides. So we got to take those apart, pull that shaft out, and that'll come out. And then this whole housing is ready to be cleaned. Okay, I'll set that aside for now. And here's the rotor as it came out. That's how that looks. Now, here's the actuator from the weights. So this is your governor, and those weights will run to the outside with centrifugal force. And as they run to the outside, they have a little, they push up on this actuator here, and this moves the governor link. That's connected to that little linkage in there. That moves the governor and controls the metering valve. Okay, so that could just pull it right out, okay, like that. And we'll get these weights out of here. And they don't go in any specific order. Oh, and there's the thrust washer that goes under it. Okay. So we got six of these weights, and that thrust washer, and that actuator. Now there's a circ clip right here. You see the end of it there? So we take that circ clip off, and then this weight retainer should come off of the end of the shaft. Yeah, sometimes you can have just as much luck with a circ clip with a pick. You're taking it out anyway. And there it is. Okay, I just wiped it off a little bit, and I realized that there is a mark. I don't know if you can see it right there. There's a mark on the black piece right there, and then there is a mark on the weight retainer right beside it. It's the old style. See, it's got that piece of rubber or whatever on the back of it. I've got a new one coming in that has a solid one piece. It doesn't have that piece of rubber on there. New and improved. This is the old one, so what we're going to do is there is a mark on the side of this that we lined up in the timing window. And we're going to have to transcribe that line onto, there it is right there. Right there. We're going to have to transcribe that onto the new weight retainer when it comes, before we put it in. Okay. Off that is. And the cam ring. And it's the counterclockwise arrow showing right here. The other side shows clockwise arrow. See right here. So ours is counterclockwise, so it's that side up. All right, now I got to get these plungers out of here and these rollers out of here. Okay, I just got a little, push the screwdriver under it there like that. Okay, that's coming up. There's two pieces there. There's a little saddle and there's the pin. So I'm going to put that over there like that. Same on the other side. That one's coming up, just the pin, but the saddle's there. There's that little saddle. Let's go around and get that. There it is. Okay. That out of there. Okay. That and that. And now there's this screw. This is the something to do with the tension. So I'm going to look in the book before I take that out. I think that has to be a critical adjustment on that. That's for the stroke of the plunger. Are the plungers stuck? Somebody suggested in the comments of another video that maybe the reason that it's not working is the plungers are stuck. And let's see. See that there? I don't know if my camera's focusing, if it's close enough. Or too close. Let's see here. Boy, it seems like it's kind of stuck, doesn't it? Now that could be our problem right there. That would point to, if the plungers aren't moving, there's no fuel moving. And what was our problem? We had no fuel moving. Everything else seemed okay. There was fuel up to the pump, and the pump was not pushing fuel out. And if those plungers are stuck, that would answer the question right there. Among everything else, but it's filthy, you know, the pump is filthy, and it's set for, okay, what's this, 2022, It is set for since 2005, give or take. So it's set for 17 years. This thing hasn't moved. Hasn't started in 17 years. I thought it was 15. I kept saying 15, but it was 15 when I got it a couple of years ago. Okay, let me see if I can get those plungers out of there. I think we found the problem right there. I got a piece of copper pipe here, and I'm gonna, because it's soft, and I'm just gonna push those pistons out. Tap it like that right now. Let's see. There's one, and there's two. Okay, and they were stuck. So hopefully that was the problem. Okay. Now I'm going to turn this over. I'm going to take this ring out here. There's a retaining ring around here. Let's see if I can pick that out of there. Let's see. Okay, on this side here, there's a little ring that holds two plates in, like a half moon plate there and a half moon plate there, and there's this little ring that holds it. I just picked it out, stuck this pick down beside there, and I got that up, and here it is here. There it is there. It's pretty grubby, but it's got a split in it, and it's that's how you put it down over that. That's a retainer. I'll clean that up. I'll show you later. Okay, now you see that there's two little plates in there. See, they're separating. One I can push back that way. One I can push back this way. Okay, like that. I'm going to put a little more PB Blaster on that, clean it all up. And the rotor, now that's the rotor there, and this should pull out now. This should come out of here. Okay. There it is, just like that. See that? Uh-oh, that's a really tight fit through there. That's high tolerance. Just gonna bring it back. There it is. Just like that. See that? And those two retainers are in there, see? Here's the rotor. Okay, I'll have to clean that up. Doesn't look all banged up. I'll clean out those little ports. Okay. One more thing to do on the pump body here, and I've already got them started. There's a shaft right here that governor linkage pivots on. See how that pivots there? It's that shaft in behind. So we're going to take those out. I got them started. They were 5/16. Okay, there's an O-ring that just sits in around. Pull that off. There's the second one. Okay, that little shaft, I'm pulling it out, and it's pulling itself out of that mechanism, and it's got a certain shape to it. Now, if I look at that's the way it comes out. This side here, facing the drive flange, is just like a 90-degree corner, and the other side's got like a little blade on it. Like you see how that's got a little front on it, like a sharp blade there. Okay, you see that there? So the sharp part of it there, that sharp corner, goes towards the governor chamber, and the 90-degree corner, like that, just goes this way. Okay, so that's there. And now this mechanism, and there it is. Okay, I'm just going to leave it in one piece. All right, and there's the little nuts for the end of that shaft. Okay, now that's it. The pump body is stripped, ready to be cleaned up. There is a pilot tube here, and they say to change it. I don't know if I'm going to change it, but if you were to change it, you're supposed to sit it back in there with a special tool, which basically sits it the same distance from this face. So what I would do if I didn't have the tool I'd measure from this face to here and install the new one to that same height, and you'd be fine. You wouldn't need the special tool, just some little thing that gives it the depth there. Okay, so that's ready to be cleaned up. You can see the gunk and stuff in there. It's pretty dirty. And here's the rotor. We're going to be real careful with that. That's high tolerance on that. We don't want to get any bangs or bumps in it. And I still have to get the delivery valve out of the center of it. And here's these retainers. We can take them out now. One there. There's those two retainers. And that's all going to be kept clean. Now the other job I've got to do on this is I've got to take these out. So that'll be another video. Okay, so I got the rotor here. I just clamped it ever so gently. You see how I clamped it there? No tension on it, really. And I found an Allen wrench that fit down in here. It fit perfectly in there. And then I used a wrench on it. And I wasn't sure if it was going to go, and I heard it snap. It went clack. It just let go and it started to turn. So that's the metering valve down inside the rotor. All right, here we go. All right. That's the plug. That. And then there's a couple other pieces inside. I'm going to take it back inside and on the bench to take the rest of it out of there. Okay. Let's see what else comes out of there. Okay, this should be a spring. Okay. So in order, we've got the plug, and we got what's called the stop, and we got the spring. Now we should have the delivery valve in there somewhere. Oh, is it coming out? The delivery valve, I can see it in there. It's not coming out easily, but it's, not sure if you can see that in there. Let's see if we can tap it gently. I don't want to mar these surfaces on here. It's as hard as I want to hit that. It seems it might be a little stuck, so we'll put some PB blaster down in there and see if we can let that sit overnight, and maybe that delivery valve will come out of there. Okay, that's the rotor. I don't know if you can see it down in there, but where these pump pistons, where they go, that's how the fuel gets to them. It becomes, it gets brought down from the metering valve into one of these ports in the rotor. It's brought down. There's a hole through the center of this thing, and it comes out in that delivery in the pumping chamber. There's a pumping chamber that delivers the high pressure fuel to the injectors. I don't know if you can just see it in there in that little, you might see the delivery hole there. There's the delivery valve, there's a spring, and there's what they call the stop, and then there's the plug that holds it all in there, okay? And that's a 5/32 Allen wrench that you take that plug out with. It's an Allen head in there, and it goes in that order, like that, in the rotor, okay? And so that the smallest part of this delivery valve goes towards the spring. Okay, you see that? Now, a couple of things. I'm going to have to give a shout out right here and now to GRT Ranch Adventures on YouTube. You can check out his channel. He rebuilt one of these pumps last year. And, you know, he was learning it as he went along, just like I am. And I mean, I wouldn't have taken on rebuilding this pump had I not seen his video. Because, you know, he dove in there into something I thought I would never go into, you know, like to get inside of an injection pump. And he went through it and he got it figured out. And one of the things, if you see his video, is this delivery valve, he was unaware that it was in there. And anyway, eventually he got his pump going. But, you know, you want to see another video of rebuilding one of these Stanadyne pumps, go see GRT Ranch Adventures on YouTube. There's another fellow on YouTube. It's Western Truck and Tractor Repairs. I think he's in Washington State. And he's got a lot of great stuff up there. And he's rebuilt these pumps. And, you know, watching what each of those guys did gave me the courage to go ahead and try and, you know, get the junk out of this one and rebuild this one. And watching those guys, you know, it all ladders one upon the other. You know, I wouldn't have attempted this without having seen these guys do it. Now, in the end of the rotor, I know it's pretty hard to see here. I just marked it down the way it was, but there was 3 little plugs on the end of the rotor. Okay, and one covers this vent wire. Okay, it's just a solid piece of steel, and it goes in a hole. I'll show you where. And I'm going to take what I've had is I've got the rotor and the shaft soaking in clean diesel overnight, along with the cam ring. I'm just going to take that apart. Okay, I'm going to set that carefully in there. Now, okay, in here, there's 1, 2, 3. I think that one's just a hole. I'm not sure. Maybe that's another one. Okay, so if you look at it this way, this is your metering valve, the hole for the metering valve, and next to it, there's this plug here, and there's this vent wire that runs down in the body here. And if you look on any diagrams for these pumps, there's what they call a vent wire, and it allows, I think, air that's trapped down in the system to get up into the governor chamber and then eventually leave the system. If this is blocked, it doesn't run. I got a little set of these cleanouts for acetylene torches and some pretty small wires, right? And so what I did was I probed these orifices carefully, and this little plug here just goes into the metering chamber. Okay, that's fine. This one here, and it goes through, and you can see, I don't know if you can see it there. It's showing right here behind the pump. And I'm not quite sure what that does. Maybe that's the way, Anyway, there was a plug over it, and I've cleaned out the hole. It's all the way through now. I don't know if that's the main line up to the metering. Okay, anyway, you can see there's that straw going all the way through there. It goes through on an angle, just like that. See that? Okay, so when I put this back together, there's the metering valve hole right there. All right, and where this goes, this vent wire goes in this one right here, okay? And then the plug goes on top of it, and then this is the vent hole up to the top here.